Sugar is killing you, and you don't even know it. Today, I'm going to share how much sugar you should actually be getting, what happens when sugar enters your system. I'm going to talk about sugar's impact on the deadliest diseases in the world that take the most lives every single year. Then I'm going to talk about what you can do in your life to escape the clutches of sugar. And I'm going to share with you the impact of sugar and what it means to be an athlete with asthma. Now, I am an ultra endurance athlete with asthma, and carbs are extremely helpful for me in races and training. In order to achieve what I've achieved, winning 100K ultras, training for my 12-hour endurance race that goes through the night, I'm going to be eating sugar. I personally try and stay away from processed sugar, and even though you can get quick energy from processed sugar, and so much processed sugar is sold to us, especially as endurance athletes, the gels, the gummies, all these things are packed with processed sugar. There are better ways to get the sugar our body needs to create energy and achieve our goals. And we're going to get there later on in this episode. To start, how much sugar should you be intaking on a daily basis? Well, for men, it's somewhere around 36 grams. And remember, this is just sugar in general. This isn't processed sugar. This is healthy sugar. It's going to be sugar from fruit, honey, all these different things that are healthy for you. 36 grams or less per day. For women, this figure is somewhere around 25 grams or less. And this is based on the AHA, American Heart Association. You need to be keeping your processed sugar less than 10 grams per day. 0 would be best. Processed sugar is very bad for our systems. Children under 2 should have 0 added sugar. They can have fruit. This should be 0 grams of added sugar. Fruit is fine, but 0 grams. For children in general, 25 grams or less. So what do we typically eat in America? The actual sugar intake is on average 68 grams. This is basically double, if not triple, the amount of sugar we should be having in our system on a day-to-day basis. This is why 1 in 3 people over the age of 65 end up with diabetes. This is why 2/3 or more of Americans are overweight. Now, it's not completely our fault that we're eating so much sugar. Well, going to the local donut shop, and one of the craziest things I've ever seen is some of the biggest and most renowned hospitals have donut shops in their lobbies. Crazy. There are obviously things that we know have sugar and are obvious that we need to avoid. Cakes, ice cream, donuts, sugary drinks like soda, sugary alcoholic beverages. We know that there's sugar in these things. Well, sugar isn't just in these things. It is hidden in sauces. The other day, my significant other and I went out for Chinese food, and even though we didn't get dessert, There was sugar in probably every single sauce that we had. There is sugar in yogurt. Even if you think you're buying a yogurt that just has fruit added for flavor, I bet you that most of the time there's also added sugar. I love kombucha. For the longest time, I could get my favorite kombucha brand and there was no added sugar. Now there's a couple grams of added sugar in my favorite kombucha brand, and I still drink it on occasion. I don't drink it nearly as much as I used to. Maybe one 16-ounce bottle a week versus every day. Drinks, I mean, that is an obvious one too. But drinks that we may not think have sugar. Fruit juices. Fruit juices don't just have a bunch of natural sugar, and if they do just have a lot of natural sugar, it's still a lot of sugar to enter our system all at once. There can also be added sugar. Dried fruits, you can have a lot of added sugar. Healthy bars have added sugar. I'll tell you this, those snack bars you bring on your hike that you think you should be eating because you're on a hike is basically a candy bar, and you are most likely not doing enough exercise during that hike to burn that whole thing. I, even as an ultra runner, avoid eating those things. Instead, we make homemade power bars where it's all natural sugar, and it's not even that much sugar. We put more carbs, proteins, and healthy fats in the bars. We have bread, condiments, ketchup, salad dressings. So, you know how you're on that salad diet now and you're not losing any weight? Or your A1C and other leading indicator blood test numbers aren't going down? It might be because the salad dressings have sugar in them. This is why I opt for olive oil and lemon, freshly squeezed lemon, and that's it. Sometimes I'll put a little mustard in there, maybe a little honey if I want something sweet. But typically just olive oil and lemon is enough. If after you eat something, you start feeling maybe a little irritable, maybe you have a spike of energy and then 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes later, your energy dips, there was probably sugar in what you ate. There was at least carbs in it. So I invite you to really look beyond the donuts, the cakes, the ice creams, and start really thinking about what else is in your diet. We love going to sushi, and we have a favorite all-you-can-eat sushi place, and I especially love this during big training cycles. I'm in the middle of a pretty big training cycle right now. Last week, I ran 80 miles. This week, I'm running 90, so 170 miles in 2 weeks. It's the biggest training cycle I've ever done. I have the calories to eat all-you-can-eat sushi. We've realized is, because we have really started prioritizing our sleep, and I have an entire podcast episode about how the majority of people are sleep deprived and are functionally drunk. I highly recommend you check out that episode. We've been very cognizant of sauces now, and we're even ordering sushi and other things without sauces. We still like to get Costco ice cream. If you're going to eat sugar, you need to burn it right away. So I'll run 5-10 miles after eating Costco ice cream. I love yogurt as an alternative to other sugary treats, but you gotta be careful what yogurt you buy. Before I get into the impact that sugar has on major diseases, I wanna share what happens when sugar enters our system. It does one of three things. The first thing is immediately used as energy. Sugar comes in your system, your body needs the energy, burns it, sugar is used, metabolized into energy. This is why if you are an endurance athlete or an athlete in general, this is why you need sugar in your system. Now, I opt for fruits for sugar in my system. I remember when I was a kid, I played a lot of soccer year-round despite having asthma. I trained my lungs since I was 4 to play full games, 3 to 5 games a day, tournament weekends. One of the things that fueled me was orange slices. Similarly, back in 2024, I discovered how much I liked eating pears deep in ultra races when in my 100K Ultra, I couldn't stomach anything other than 3 pears 50 miles into my 100K or 62-mile ultra race. Fruit is a great source of sugar and energy. However, if you eat any kind of sugar, processed or not processed, this is what happens. Sugar does this. First, immediately as energy. Second, if you eat sugar and you don't have a need for the energy, then it will be stored as fat. If immediately using sugar as energy is a positive outcome, then it being stored as fat is actually more of a neutral outcome. While this can cause issues with weight gain, obesity, etc., from a metabolic perspective, at least for me as an ultra runner, if I burn through all of my sugar energy, I'm going to start burning fat. Way back when humans would eat one meal and then gorge themselves, I'm talking about like caveman era, sugar would be stored as fat. All these things would be stored as fat so that you have an energy source to pull from. There is healthy and unhealthy fat accumulation. So you want to check with your doctor with all this. And by the way, disclaimer, I am not a healthcare professional. I have a disclaimer linked in the show notes and in the YouTube description. Definitely check with your doctor with everything that I'm sharing with you today. If sugar isn't burned or stored as fat, you could be very skinny and still store a bunch of sugar as fat. You can also be very large and not have space to store sugar as fat. I highly recommend you check out the book Outlive by Dr. Peter Attia. I have it linked in the show notes and in the YouTube description. It talks all about how this works, and you can get the medical perspective of all of this. The crazy thing though is if we don't burn it and we don't have the room in our system to store it as fat, then number 3 happens. And this is the worst one. It just floats around our bloodstream. This is not good. Causes inflammation, causes diabetes, other diseases. When sugar floats around your bloodstream, it impacts your sleep, mood, irritability. This is why we get our A1Cs checked in our blood tests, because that is the average amount of sugar floating around your bloodstream. We want a lower rate. Check with your doctor about what that rate needs to be. For me, I know when this is happening because it increases my heart rate. My resting heart rate is between 35 and 40 beats per minute. It almost doubles it. In that case, I can't sleep. I'm angry. So what do? I put myself in a place to burn it, to create energy. Now let's look at how sugar impacts the 4 biggest diseases. First, diabetes. When we have all of this sugar unused, not stored as fat, bouncing through our system, it creates insulin resistance. 1 in 3 people, 65 plus, has diabetes. This equates to 38 million Americans, and 96 million are pre-diabetic, which means that you are metabolically dysfunctional. Even more Americans are pre-diabetic, which means that your body is not metabolically healthy. The craziest thing about diabetes, and you'll learn even more about this in the book Outlive by Dr. Peter Attia, is insulin resistance and processed sugar. Even if you're not part of the 38 million Americans or 1/3 of people 65 plus who have diabetes, maybe you're part of the 96 million who are pre-diabetic, this affects the other major diseases. Let's look at cancer. This is what put me on the path of I want to cut as much processed sugar out of my life as possible. Did you know that cancer cells thrive on glucose? Specifically, cancer cells eat 10 times or more glucose than normal cells. So when you're feeding yourself sugar, you're feeding your cancer cells sugar. We all have cancer cells inside of us. By decreasing your sugar, maybe you're decreasing your chances of cancer. Yet again, I'm not a healthcare professional, so I highly recommend you talk to your healthcare provider about this. We got the biggest disease out there, cardiovascular disease. Sugar spikes, so yet again, that sugar bouncing around our system in our bloodstream, creating pre-diabetes, which Dr. Peter Attia talks about in detail in Outlive. That's why I'm just leaving it as pre, so you can go learn more there. The 96 million pre-diabetic and 38 million diabetic. Sugar spikes cause inflammation, and inflammation equals arterial damage. Also makes our hearts work harder, increases strain on our hearts. Our hearts are pumping that excess sugar through our system. It has to work harder when there's more of it. Our resting heart rate goes up, which means our heart rate in general goes up. Sugar is a big factor in cardiovascular health. Last is neurological damage or diseases. Dementia, Alzheimer's, brain fog. Sugar is directly linked to these things. Sugar impacts sleep negatively. When you decrease sleep, your brain doesn't have time to repair itself. Your whole body doesn't have time to repair itself. That's why you deal with your sugar intake, you increase your sleep, decrease all of these things. Now I want to share what you can start doing today to aid in your metabolic health and to live a healthier life. The first thing is cut out added and processed sugar. I love ice cream, specifically Costco ice cream. I love different types of foods that have sauces that have sugar in them. So what you really need to do is just be mindful of your intake of added and processed sugar. Keep it under 10 grams a day. And if you eat it, burn it. Work out after. Take a walk. Even if it's fruit, even if it is honey. Work out. Use that sugar. We don't want it bouncing around our bloodstream. Number 3, eat fruit. Berries have amazing anti-inflammatory and antioxidant properties. When you eat fruit, you get the sugar, but also health benefits. Replace added sugar with fruit. Strawberries, blueberries, blackberries, raspberries, apples, bananas. You still want to be mindful of eating fruits and not using the energy from them right away. Substitute sugar for organic honey. Honey has amazing healing properties. Tatiana is a much better baker than me. I make waffles pretty frequently. Recipes call for sugar in waffles, pancakes, muffins, scones. What you can do is either substitute, so you're going to substitute the sugar for organic honey, or really you want to do both of these things. Cut sugar in recipes in half or more. I don't even like recipes that have a ton of sugar in them. If I eat a cookie that has the amount of sugar that's in these recipes, I actually feel sick than if I have a cookie that has half the sugar and it's from an alternative source like organic honey. You want to make a list of your biggest sugar triggers. For me, ice cream is number one. I love ice cream. It's the best thing ever. And I still eat it, but I eat it much less. And what I've done is I have actually substituted yogurt without added sugar, by the way, has replaced ice cream for me. I love Icelandic yogurt. It is so good. I get the normal one, not the low fat, because I'm eating it as a replacement for ice cream. I still have ice cream, but I have it way less because I've done this. And same thing for you. You need to think about what you're going to miss the most with sugar. Maybe it's soda. I luckily have never really been into soda. If it's soda, you can replace that with sparkling water and adding fruit to it. I actually, when I found out that there was a lot of sugar in kombucha and there's added sugar in some of my favorite kombuchas now, I opt for sparkling water as a replacement, and I squirt in some lemon, lime. You need to come up with a replacement so this becomes easier for you. The last thing is eat sugar earlier in the day. Go against what culture tells you to do. Sugar or dessert after dinner is the worst thing you could do. Instead of having dessert after dinner, have it after lunch. Have it after breakfast. Have it earlier in the day so that you have time to burn it. When you have it later in the day, you're setting yourself up for poor sleep. I have a whole episode about poor sleep and how it affects our health as humans. Eat sugar earlier in the day, preferably before noon. Before noon. Now, I want to help you even more. And that's why I put together my 3 Pillars of Healthy Living guide, where I go through the 3 pillars of healthy living: movement, tracking, and accountability, and how you can integrate these 3 pillars into your life today by taking a couple minutes of your time to ingest this healthy living guide. You can grab your free copy in the show notes, in the YouTube description, or going to www.athletewithasthma.com/healthy-living-guide to grab your free copy today. This Healthy Living Guide is a conglomerate of principles I came up with while losing 40 pounds and keeping it off. By integrating these 3 pillars into my life, I am living much healthier, happier, and a fulfilling life as a human and an ultra-endurance athlete with asthma. Speaking of asthma, sugar also has a negative impact on asthma. Sugar equals inflammation. Inflammation equals narrowed airways, which means decreasing your lung capacity. So by decreasing your sugar intake, your asthma should theoretically get better because you're going to reduce the amount of inflammation in your body, which is going to open up your airways and increase your lung capacity. I'll see you in the next episode.